New FIFA season means I'm back uploading on the channel, and to kick it off today I'm going to be going through, showing you and explaining the custom tactics that I've been using in the early weeks of FIFA 21. Now I do usually wait to do one of these. I usually give it a few weekend leagues, or I usually wait until I got my first 30 wins, no losses. But guess what? At the first attempt with this pretty average looking team, at least by pro standards, yes, I got 30 wins at the first attempt. Now, I may, just in case you think to yourself, hang on a minute Danny boy, I do not see you on the top 200 leaderboards. So just to not lose the validity of these tactics or my claim of 30-0, we'll just take a quick look of why I'm not on this week's leaderboards. So here I was, cruising along at 19 wins, no losses. Everything's going to plan. I've took an early lead in this game, not against the best opponent. Perfect weekend incoming, and wallop, EA removed me from the game. It was not my internet. My internet was fine. I didn't drop a single frame in my stream. It was a tough one to take, but I'm still claiming that as a 30-0. Would you all do the same? I mean, the history books will show Danny Taylor got 29-1 in the first weekend league of FIFA 21, but we know the truth. We know the truth. That was the only way I was losing this weekend. I'm still claiming it as a 30. Is it officially a 30? Perhaps that's a discussion for another day. So firstly, my team. Now this is my PlayStation team. As you can see, it's probably better than, you know, the average Joe's team, but by professional standards, this is pretty poor, isn't it? I mean, you've only got to look at the strikers. I mean, if you're a pro player and you're not running with, at the bare minimum, Neymar and Mbappe, you're usually in a bit of trouble. I was stuck with Timo Werner and Aubameyang. Timo, to be fair, with him 55 goals and 33 assists in 39 games. That's pretty good going, isn't it? That's 9 games of rivals and the 30 weekend league games. Aubameyang, what are his stats like? Not quite as good. 42 goals, 24 assists in 37 games. Mane, as you're going to see, Mane and Salah were playing off the wing. I'm going to go through that shortly. 14 goals, 12 assists. Salah, does he have something similar? I think I only had Salah for 31 games. I bought him after my rival's placement and after I qualified for weekend league. Another a big disappointment, I'd say. Kevin De Bruyne. I paid the big bucks. I think I paid about 300k for him. Didn't really repay me. I mean, to be fair, I only got him halfway through my weekend league. But from centre midfield, 5 goals, 7 assists. Felt a little bit stiff, a little bit useless at times. One thing that was positive about this team, though, was the defence. Mendy, best left back on the game at the moment. Varane, not far behind, is the best centre back on the game. Joe Gomez will do the job for now, and this guy, and I'm telling you now, is an event level right back. If there was a qualifier, an event this weekend, you would see this guy in I'm going to say at least maybe 80% of people's teams. He really is just so solid. It seems like he wins every tackle. He intercepts everything. Nobody can get away from him down the wing. He really is the all-round package. And then we move to Nicholas David Pope. What a keeper. You know, I'm one of them people, I usually like, you know, when people pick out random players with low ratings, I'm one of the people who can't get away with it. But this year, I'm telling you, if you've got a Premier League team or a Premier League centre-back or an English Premier League centre-back, get him in your team. He will not let you down, not one bit. I'm going to put it out there, he's the best keeper in the Premier League on FIFA 21. Now, should we just have a quick look, while we're here, we'll have a quick look at my Xbox team. Now, I got 27-3 on the Xbox. My matchmaking was absolutely insane. But like, I came up against pro after pro after pro. Some of the teams you come up against on Xbox, honestly, man, I'm just going to give you a quick example of the sort of thing we were dealing with on Xbox. Things like this were becoming a regular occurrence. It just felt like it was pro after pro, and when I've got teams like this, it is difficult. But these tactics that I've been using, they allowed me to compete despite having only a 200k team. I was able to do stuff like this. I mean, this is against a top quality pro with, I'm going to say, he's dropped at least £3,000 or £4,000. You know, he's got pretty much an event level team on the very first weekend. But with our poor La Liga plus Rodrigo and Adama squad, we did manage to compete. So what are these tactics then? Now, I hope you're all not expecting something too crazy here, because it's always been my kind of philosophy when it comes to tactics, that you don't want to complicate things. I try and keep the values as close to default as possible, and the instructions as close to default as possible. So when I show you this, you're going to think, hang on, is that it? Is that it? Is that all there is to it? And of course, you've got to factor in the fact that, without blowing my own trumpet, I'm a half decent FIFA player. But this is it. I mean, this is as complicated as I've made it. This is what I switched to as soon as I get in the game. The formation is 4-4-2, as you can see there. Aubameyang and Werner up front, Salah on the right, Man on the left. The rest of the team, pretty obvious. And these are the tactics that I use. So, defensive style, balanced. At 0-0, I would suggest nothing but balance this year, at least in this early stage of the game. The pressure tactics are low OP, a little bit overkill early in the game, and drop back. I don't think it's needed. I've never been a fan of it, to be honest. Width, I leave on 5 for pretty much every tactic. I don't think there's much need to mess about with that. Depth, knock it down to 4. I think you'll all know by now, pace is vital in this year's FIFA. It's all about getting in behind. So using past FIFAs, I've had it up, 6 or 7, but I just don't think that's possible this year. It's going to have to be 4, and I don't think that's going to change anytime soon. Offensive style, last year I messed about a bit. I always switched between long ball and balance. I really was a fan of long ball, but it seems balanced is the way forward this year, with the gain on 5. Another thing I would say, I mean, possession and fast build-up are just... Fast build-up maybe at the end of the game, or maybe if you're using diamonds you can kind of get away with it, but possession and fast build-up, I'm just not a fan of them at all. Long ball still kind of usable, but with... if someone turns press after possession loss or team press on against you and you're using long ball, you're just in trouble. Balance gives you the best of everything. It's just best to keep it simple in a few words. Width, as always, on 5. Players in the box, I've been using 4 for a couple of years now. Although crossing's pretty decent on this one, you'll all know about the assisted crossing trick by now, and if you don't, I'm sure there's countless amounts of YouTubers who've already posted videos on it by now. I still think that it's best to have options on the edge of the box. If you leave it on 4, your strikers will still get in there, your wingers will still get in there, but you don't want to overcommit because counter attacks are pretty vital on this one. Corners and free kicks, as always, are on 2. Although heading's a little bit better, I still always take them short, so these 2 will remain on 2 for the foreseeable future. Instructions for my 4-4-2, right, we start with Nicholas Pope. Comes for crosses and sweeper keeper. Both of them I think are more of a placebo effect, if I'm being totally honest. I don't see too much of a difference when I change them on or off, but that is what I want. I want him to come for crosses, and I want him to rush in behind if someone plays a ball over the top and he's got a chance of getting it. Centre backs, defaults, never mess about with them. The full backs, as always, they've got to be on stay back while attacking. The counter attack is absolutely huge on this one, so you've got to have both full backs on stay back. The wingers, you're best off leaving them completely unbalanced. Now, I've messed around with this. I've had them coming back, I've had them getting in behind, I've had them getting in for boxes crosses, and it just goes back to my philosophy. I should say. The more, or in my opinion, the more players and the more tactics you have on default, you'll just get a much smoother and balanced feel to your team. It'll just feel more natural. Just think if you start messing around like this and stay wide, get in behind, coin the box across, it just doesn't feel as good, or at least for me it doesn't. I see all these pros messing up with so many instructions, and there's just no need for it. I know everyone's trying to gain as much of an advantage as possible, but in my opinion, you're best off leaving your wingers completely unbalanced. Centre mids, now this is a little bit of an interesting one. I do leave them both on balance. Now what I find is when you've got 2 centre mids or 2 CDMs, as long as one of them is like Kante, Vieira, Gattuso, an out-and-out CDM, you'll more often than not, if you leave them both unbalanced, one of them will always stay back, or I'd say about 8 times out of 10, one of them will stay back, but occasionally they'll get forward and give you that extra option. So that's what I've done. I'm one of them people, I can't tell my midfielders to stay back. I'm an attacking player. I pass the ball a lot. I'm not a massive skiller. I need options to feet. So that's what I've done. But one thing you may have noticed is, right, with this year, I am telling the centre mids to cover centre. Now it has worked for me really well. I feel like with the formation, especially the 4-4-2, which obviously have 2 strikers, the 4-2-3-1 and other formations, you've only got 1 up front. I wouldn't really suggest putting them on cover centre because you want them, if you've got them 2 and then maybe a cam in front of them, They don't need to be on cover centre because maybe there should be space on the wing, you know, to cover. I mean, if you read that, defend the open wing if a teammate isn't marking. People read that cover wing and think, oh, they'll stand out on the wing, they won't cover the middle. No, they will defend the wing if there's someone unmarked. So, I mean, if you've got 3 people in there, or 2 CMs or 2 CDMs and a cam, the chances are they'll only go out wide if you leave it on cover wing if it's really, really necessary. But with a flat 4-4-2, I have had them both on cover centre and it's been working really well. However, as I'm about to show you in this quick clip, it can be a little bit of a double-edged sword. Because in situations like this, when there's a quick turnover of possession, your team will be really, really vulnerable to the quick through balls in behind. This doesn't seem that when you have them on cover wing. I'm not sure why it is. I'm not sure if it's because of the mechanics of the AI, but this was an issue in FIFA 20 as well. With cover wing, they seem to plug the gaps much more effectively. I mean, this just sums it up. So, I mean, next week, I think I'm going to look at going back to cover wing, but for now, cover centre has done a good job. Both strikers on getting behind and the rest of the instructions just all balanced. I mean, for a lot of FIFA 20, I was actually using target man and balance, but I think with this game being all about pace, runs in behind, counter-attacks, and the getting behind instruction is essential. So, I mean, all in all, I mean, I've got a couple of instructions on the keeper that don't really do anything. I've got the full-backs told to stay back, the centre mids told to cover centre, and the 2 strikers to get in behind, and I haven't got any other instruction in the entire team. That is pretty much it. Well, not pretty much, that is it. I'm just going to quickly show you what I went to the few occasions this weekend when I went behind. Now, press after possession loss is, honestly, it is completely and utterly broken in this game. You lose the ball, and every single player in your team will tightly mark a man and make it impossible. Well, not impossible, but 90% of the time, they will really, really struggle to get out. It has to be patched, but for now, get it on. This is the ultimate comeback tactic. I mean, I'd put this on maybe if I was 1 goal down with like 30 to go. If I ever went 2 goals down, it would go on. So yeah, I mean, I bumped the depth up to 6. That's just to help the press. I mean, that as well as pressing down on the arrow and turning team press on. I can't describe. You'll all know by now just how cracked it is this year. Offensive style, I actually had this on long ball. I must have been messing about that earlier. Long ball, it just makes, it's like I'd say long ball's at the halfway point between fast build up and balanced. It's just a little bit more risky. Your wingers will make really good runs, and yeah, this is a really good comeback tactic. It did bail me out on a few occasions this weekend. As you can see, I went 6 with the depth, long ball, 5 width for attacking, as I do with every tactic, and then plays in the box above up to 6. That's just again to commit more body into the box. The few occasions I was trying to Tony Pulis my way to a win, this is what I switched to right at the end. 5-4-1. This is where I learned the lesson about cover centre. Well, no, this was the final nail in the coffin for cover centre. I have the wing backs both told to stay back. Pretty self-explanatory. The wingers told to come back. Both centre mids to stay back, but just to cover the wing. Like, you've got enough bodies in the centre. Like, cover wing will mean if there is a gap, which is unlikely, they'll go and mark it. They'll basically mark better. And the striker again, just told to come back. You don't want to get in behind, because sometimes you want him to come to feet, especially if it's in the last few minutes. Almost certainly your opponent is going to be on team press, all out attack, constant pressure, or whatever. So yeah, I think that's obviously my go-to formation. That's my comeback formation. That's my seeing out the final few moments formation. And then we have this one. This is the final 5 to 10 minutes. If you go more than 2 goals down, and it's either going to be, you're risking everything. You're either going to definitely lose, or you're going to take that small chance that you can get a crazy comeback. Constant pressure. I mean, I would only use this from maybe if I was 1 down from the 85th, maybe the 80th onwards, or if I went, say I went 3 goals down with half an hour to go, and I had nothing to lose, I'd bang this on. The formation is the 4-3-2-1. Instructions comes at the same as always for the keeper in every single tactic. Join the attack on both the fullbacks, self-explanatory. Both the RCM and the LCM told to get forward, again, pretty self-explanatory. All of the front 3 told to get them behind and stay forward. You're basically trying to get as many men forward as possible, and the tactics follow that up basically. Constant pressure, keep the width the same as always, depth 10. I don't really need to explain this all, do I? I've done my in-depth explanation for the tactic that I use for about 90% of the time playing FIFA. Fast build-up, all pretty self-explanatory, and that is all of the 4 different tactics and instructions that I use in this Weekend League, and it's been serving me really well so far. And that's it for today's video. If you have any questions at all, feel free to drop them down in the comment section below. I'll get back to as many of you as possible. Try and ignore the fact that I've changed outfit during this video, and I'll see you all tomorrow for some rewards. I've got Elite 1 coming on both PS4 and Xbox. Hopefully our luck will be a little bit better than the last few years, but I guess time will tell. See you all tomorrow.